what do you think this is? Some of you might say it's an innovative product, others that it's some kind of new material. Otherwise, why would I be showing it to you, right? Actually, it is a simple, reusable bag. I have been using it for 15 years, and it has helped me save 4,000 single-use plastic bags, which would have ended in a landfill or would have found their way somewhere in nature. An estimated 5 trillion single-use plastic bags are used yearly on an annual level. This is 160,000 single-use plastic bags per second. So obviously, the 4,000 plastic bags that I have saved over 4,000 years are just a speck of dust. However, I do feel that my contribution is important. Why is that? First of all, using this blue bag is easy for me. It does not entail any major lifestyle changes. Second, I feel good about knowing that I'm not increasing my environmental footprint. And third, and most important, I know that this simple act has an impact. This blue bag has helped reduce plastic waste accumulation. It has helped save dolphins and sea turtles from ingesting plastic bags in the sea. It has helped reduce plastic microparticles from entering into our food chain. Plastic waste accumulation is one of the major problems facing us today. Air pollution, water pollution, deforestation, climate change, biodiversity loss, you can name it. The information about such issues is on a daily basis in the news. It's part of the school curricula. It's part of the political agendas. Yet most of us do not act. Why do we behave this way? First of all, environmental problems may seem daunting. They may seem too abstract or irrelevant to us. Take, for instance, climate change. It involves processes that started well before we were born and that will continue well after we're gone. It also involves extensive scientific research to convince us about the magnitude of the problems. So this is one factor. The second factor has to do with our perception that whatever we do, that our contribution does not matter. Our attitudes may vary somewhere between, oh, but this is for politicians to deal with, or that whatever I do is just a drop in the ocean. So we convince ourselves that whatever we do does not matter. Well, I would like to convince you about the contrary, that actually even small actions, even small steps do matter. I see our response to current environmental problems as an individual yet collective effort. And I like to compare this effort to the construction of the Great Wall of China, one of the largest man-made constructions on this planet. Do you know how it was built? It was built brick by brick. I like to think that on a personal level, I have helped put up a few bricks towards improving environmental awareness and proposing concrete environmental solutions. For example, when I was a student in this college, I set up the college's environmental club. And along with a friend who today is a professor in this college, we set up, among other actions, the campus's paper recycling system. 12 years ago, I put up another brick by creating a small NGO which operates in Ghana in West Africa. The NGO's objective is to help improve rural communities' livelihoods while protecting natural resources and biodiversity. Now, the NGO operates around Kakum National Park, which is a lush tropical forest, hosting more than 400 species of butterflies, more than 250 species of birds, and its flagship species is the forest elephant. The communities we work in are small settlements, remote settlements. Most of them do not have electricity, and none of them has running water. The villagers, they live mainly from cocoa farming, which they complement with subsistence activities such as vegetable farming and small-scale trade. Most of them are illiterate, and most of them live below the poverty level, earning between 500 and 1,000 euro per year per household. Now, obviously, I did not create the NGO thinking or saying to myself that I would tackle global poverty or that I would stop tropical deforestation. No, I started by thinking that we should put in place a few concrete actions. So this is what the NGO is doing. We have put in place actions such as social microfinance, business and technical training, children's libraries, promotion of microenterprises. But by far the most effective action that we have put in place has also been the simplest one, which is the provision of gas cookstoves. Now, I assume that many of you cook. It can be fun, right? You take your ingredients, you chop them up, you stir them, you turn on your heat, you put them in your pan, you stir a bit more, and within 15 minutes you can have a fantastic dish. Well, cooking for the women in Kagub National Park is not that simple. The traditional cooking system involves having 3 stones on the ground, on top of which you put your pot, and under this you put your fuel wood, which you have collected after having walked for a couple of hours, and you bring it back home carrying it on your back. And then assuming that your fuel wood is dry, you need at least another hour to prepare your fire. Now imagine that while you're cooking and while you're preparing your fire, the smoke is coming into your mouth, it's coming into your nostrils, it's going down into your lungs, burning your lungs, it's itching your eyes. And if you have a baby on your back, like most women in rural Africa do, your baby is also inhaling the smoke. So other than the fact that the traditional cooking system is extremely tedious and time-consuming for the women involved in the cooking, it is also associated with high rates of deforestation and emission of carbon dioxide. Those toxic fumes not only lead to air pollution, but they create also severe health issues to those regularly exposed to them. And they regularly lead also to infant deaths. In order to address those issues, the NGO introduced in the communities gas cookstoves. The first thing we did was to introduce the concept, to explain the concept of the cookstoves, their benefits and their advantages related to the environment and the health. And those who were interested in participating in this initiative, they just had to express their interest and pay the 1/5 of the cookstove price. So now those who own a cookstove, they can turn on the heat just with a match, as simply as you and I can do in our own homes. The 420 women who decided to change their cooking practices managed to achieve multiple benefits. First of all, deforestation around the communities was reduced. The health of the women improved, and also infant deaths due to smoke inhalation were also reduced, or they were prevented. So our project even had an unexpected side effect, more gender equality. Because now that cooking is so much easier, even some men are involved in the preparation of the meals. Now, if making a positive change in favor of environmental protection is possible for a woman in rural Africa, don't you think it should be possible for most of us? Each one of you, each one of us can be an agent of change, can be an environmental hero. Obviously, our skills, our power, and our desire to act proactively for environmental protection differs. And I like to visualize the ability of the agents of change in the form of a pyramid. On the very top, you have very few, very powerful individuals, such as CEOs of multinational companies, environmental ministers, breakthrough researchers, high-profile activists. Those people can, with a stroke of their hand, with one decision, with one discovery, make huge leaps in environmental change. In the middle of the pyramid, you have environmental professionals who dedicate their careers to this. And below them, still in the middle of the pyramid, you have non-environmental professionals who may decide to integrate environmental policies or environmental friendly practices and elements in their respective sectors of activity. By far, the largest number of agents of change is found at the base of the pyramid. The potential of those agents' cumulative impact is immense. Here you find people who do not necessarily have environmental expertise, for whom conservation or protection of the environment is not a major goal in their life. Yet there are people who may realize that something must be done, that something can be done. Here at the base, you find the environmental underdogs, or at least those who consider themselves as environmental underdogs. Like, for example, the women in Kakum National Park. Like the billions of consumers who every day, whether they know it or not, they make environmental choices depending on their consumer choices. Like every person breathing on this planet who with its daily actions has an impact on the environment. Yes, every action implies an environmental choice and has an environmental impact. Take, for instance, our eating habits. Do we eat for breakfast cereal that includes palm oil that led to deforestation in Indonesia? Do we try to carpool to college? Do we try to do we buy that extra t-shirt that we do not need, but yet we buy it just because it is cheap? These are examples of daily actions that inherently imply environmental choices. Now, what is fascinating about the pyramid we talked about before is that it is mobile. One can move across it depending on one's desire to be proactive. And the best example I can think of is that of a high school girl who one day decided to stop going to school on Fridays as her own way to express her dismay against climate change in action. You may know who I'm talking about, Greta Thunberg. Well, Greta, she was an environmental underdog. She started with a personal action and found herself leading an international school strike movement. She found herself giving speeches to the UN Climate Summit and discussing climate change with Barack Obama and other world leaders. The environmental underdog became an environmental world leader. This story illustrates perfectly well the potential power of the underdogs. I understand that for the majority of the people, environmental problems are not at the core of their daily worries. Though it is comforting to think that our technologically advanced society will always find a solution for every environmental problem, or that environmental problems affect other countries but not ours, or even that politicians will always find and apply the right solution, the simple truth is that it does not work this way. Deforestation may stem from what is in our plates. Death of sea mammals may be driven by our shopping habits. Climate change is affected by the way we move around. So whether we are farmers in Kakum National Park or students, we can be agents of change. We can be environmental heroes. Instead of sitting idly talking about environmental doomsday or pretending that those problems do not exist or that they are beyond our reach, we need to do two things. First of all, we need to acknowledge environmental problems and our power to act upon them. And second, we need to make the right choices. The 420 women in Kakum made the choice to change their cooking practices, thus improving their local environment and their health. Each one of you has the same power and even more because you are not illiterate. You do not live below the poverty level. My little blue bag, the cookstoves, they are simple examples of feasible solutions that can turn you into a daily environmental hero. They are bricks towards the construction of a common project, which is the protection of our environment and consequently the protection of our health and our long-term quality of life. So I would like to end asking you one question. Do you think that you can find your own brick or bricks and put them up towards the construction of this common project? Thank you.